Months passed since the crew of the Aurora had returned to Earth. The wreckage of their ship still drifted silently in space, a haunting reminder of the choices they had made and the sacrifices that had been necessary. Captain Alan Carter stood on a quiet hilltop overlooking the ocean, the wind brushing against his face as he watched the sun dip below the horizon. It was peaceful here, a stark contrast to the chaos and tension of the past year. Emma Blake sat beside him, her legs crossed and her hands resting on her knees. She had changed in subtle ways since their return. Her once bright curiosity had matured into something deeper, tempered by the lessons they had learned. "Do you think we'll ever go back out there?" she asked softly, nodding toward the stars. Carter smiled faintly. "Probably. Humanity doesn't stay grounded for long. But next time, I hope we're better prepared." "Better prepared," Emma echoed, her voice tinged with both sadness and determination. "Lisa taught us that we can't just chase knowledge without thinking about what it means or what it costs." Dr. Ryan Mitchell joined them shortly after, carrying a thermos of coffee. He handed cups to Carter and Emma before sitting down. "I've been thinking a lot about Lisa lately," he admitted, "about what she did and why. If it hadn't been for her, none of us would be sitting here right now." "She saved more than just us," Carter said quietly. "She saved Earth, maybe even the Valens too." Ryan nodded, taking a sip of his coffee. "Still, it's hard not to wonder, could we have done something differently? Could we have stopped it sooner?" Emma shook her head. "I don't think so. None of us knew how dangerous it really was, not until it was too late. All we can do now is learn from it." The reforms General Knox had implemented were already making a difference. New guidelines for handling alien technology emphasized caution over ambition, prioritizing exploration and understanding over weaponization. Scientists and military leaders worked together more closely, ensuring that humanity's reach into space wouldn't come at the cost of its values. Across the globe, people remembered Lisa Harper's sacrifice. Memorials were erected in her honor, and schools began teaching courses on ethical exploration. Her story became a symbol of courage and responsibility, a reminder that progress required not just intelligence but wisdom. Xylor and the Valens maintained contact with Earth, fostering a fragile but hopeful alliance. They shared knowledge cautiously, always mindful of the risks. In return, humanity offered its own insights, eager to build bridges rather than barriers. For the first time, the idea of coexistence felt possible. As night fell, Carter rose to his feet, brushing dirt from his pants. "We should head back," he said, glancing at Emma and Ryan. "Tomorrow's another day." They walked together down the hill, their footsteps soft against the grass. Each of them carried scars from their journey, some visible, others hidden. But they also carried hope, hope that humanity could rise above its flaws, that it could grow wiser with each passing generation. Later that evening, as Carter lay in bed staring at the ceiling, he thought about Lisa one last time. He imagined her smiling, proud of the changes her sacrifice had inspired. She had given everything to protect them, and now it was their duty to ensure her gift wasn't wasted. Out among the stars, the universe waited, vast, mysterious, and full of possibilities. Humanity's path forward wouldn't be easy, but for the first time, Carter believed they were ready to face it. Together, they would step into the unknown, guided not by fear or greed, but by the lessons of those who had come before. And somewhere, amid the endless expanse of space, Lisa Harper's memory shone brightly, a beacon of hope for all who dared to explore. The Valen rescue vessel carried the survivors of the Aurora in silence. The crew sat quietly, each lost in their own thoughts. Captain Alan Carter stared out of a large viewport, watching the stars streak past as the ship traveled through space. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him, not just for Lisa's sacrifice, but for the choices that had led them to this point. Emma Blake sat beside him, her hands wrapped around a warm cup of tea provided by the Valens. She hadn't spoken much since leaving the Aurora, her mind replaying Lisa's final moments over and over. Do you think she knew? Emma asked suddenly, her voice barely above a whisper. Knew how much she meant to us. Carter sighed deeply, turning his gaze away from the stars. I think she did. Lissa always understood the bigger picture, what was at stake. That's why she stayed behind. Dr. Ryan Mitchell leaned against the wall nearby, arms crossed. His usual skepticism had softened into something closer to regret. We messed up, he muttered. We let curiosity get the better of us. We should have left that thing alone. Emma glanced at him, her eyes filled with sadness. It's not just us, though. People back on Earth. They'd have done the same thing. General Knox proved that. Carter nodded grimly. That's what worries me. Humanity has a habit of chasing power without thinking about the consequences. This time, we got lucky. But next time, he didn't finish the sentence. None of them needed him to. Xylor entered the room, its movements calm and deliberate. It approached the group, its expression unreadable but somehow comforting. You are safe now, it said softly. My people will ensure you return to your world unharmed. Thank you, Carter replied sincerely. But what happens after that? Will your people keep searching for artifacts like this one? Xylor hesitated before answering. Some among us believe these relics hold answers, secrets that could help us understand the universe. Others see only danger. The debate continues. Emma frowned. And what do you think? I think knowledge is neither good nor evil, Xylor explained. It is how it is used that matters. Your companion, Lisa, showed great wisdom. She chose to protect rather than exploit. Perhaps others will follow her example. The words lingered in the air, heavy with meaning. The crew exchanged glances, each silently vowing to carry Lisa's memory forward. Back on Earth, news of the artifact's destruction reached General Harold Knox. At first, he raged at the loss of such a powerful opportunity. But as reports of the nanobot's destructive potential spread, even Knox began to reconsider his stance. Images of barren planets and crumbling civilizations haunted him, reminders of what unchecked ambition could unleash. In response, Knox called for an emergency meeting with top military and scientific leaders. For the first time, he listened instead of commanded. We dodged a bullet here, he admitted gruffly. If those nanobots had escaped, we'd be looking at global devastation, maybe extinction. One of the scientists spoke up, her voice firm. This isn't just about us, sir. If humanity wants to survive and thrive, we need to change how we approach alien technology. Curiosity is natural, but recklessness will destroy us. Knox nodded slowly, his usual arrogance tempered by humility. Then let's make sure this doesn't happen again. New protocols, stricter oversight. From now on, exploration comes first, weapons second. As reforms were implemented, the story of the Aurora became a cautionary tale. News outlets reported on Lisa Harper's bravery, painting her as a hero who had saved countless lives. Schools taught lessons about the dangers of unchecked ambition, using the artifact incident as a case study. For the crew of the Aurora, life slowly began to return to normal. Yet none of them could forget the events that had changed them forever. They often gathered to share memories of Lisa, keeping her spirit alive through stories of her brilliance and courage. Captain Carter stood once more beneath the night sky, gazing at the stars. He thought of Lisa, of Xylor, and of the fragile trust they had forged with the Valens. Humanity's future remained uncertain, but for the first time, Carter felt hopeful. Perhaps, he thought, they had learned enough to avoid repeating the mistakes of the past. The survivors of the Aurora gathered in the ship's common area, their faces pale and drawn. The weight of Lisa Harper's sacrifice hung over them like a dark cloud. Emma Blake sat quietly in a corner, her hands clasped tightly together, while Dr. Ryan Mitchell paced back and forth, his expression unreadable. Captain Alan Carter stood near the viewport, staring out at the endless expanse of space, his mind replaying the events that had led to this moment. Xylor, the Valen ambassador, remained nearby, its presence both comforting and somber. It had witnessed humanity's capacity for bravery and for destruction. Now, it watched as the crew grappled with their grief and guilt. "She saved us," Emma whispered finally, breaking the silence. Her voice cracked, and she wiped tears from her cheeks. If she hadn't stayed behind. She knew what she was doing, Carter said softly, though his tone carried no conviction. "She gave us a chance to fix this, to make things right." Ryan stopped pacing and turned to face the group. "But at what cost? Lysa gave her life, and for what? To stop something we never should have touched in the first place." Carter didn't respond immediately. He understood Ryan's anger. It mirrored his own. But now wasn't the time to dwell on blame. They had to focus on moving forward. "We can honor her memory by learning from this, by making sure nothing like this ever happens again." Xylor stepped closer, its movements smooth and deliberate. "Your companion showed great courage. Such selflessness is rare, even among my people. Her actions will not be forgotten." Emma looked up at Xylor, her eyes red and swollen. Do you think she stopped it? For good?" Xylor hesitated before answering. "The artifact is gone, and the nanobots with it. But the knowledge remains. If others seek to replicate its power, the danger will return." The room fell silent as the reality of Xylor's words sank in. Destroying the artifact hadn't erased the threat entirely. Humanity's greed and ambition were still lurking beneath the surface, waiting for another opportunity to resurface. Meanwhile, aboard the military cruiser, Commander Laura Hayes reported back to General Knox. Her initial confidence had wavered after witnessing the chaos aboard the Aurora *. She stood stiffly in front of the view screen, delivering her account with a mix of frustration and regret. "The artifact is destroyed," Hayes said bluntly. "One of the scientists sacrificed herself to contain the nanobots. We lost valuable data, and potentially a significant advantage." Knox's face hardened, his jaw tightening. "So we're back to square one. All that effort, and we have nothing to show for it." Hayes hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "Sir, perhaps this is a sign. The artifact was too dangerous to control. Pushing further might have ended worse than we could have imagined." For once, Knox didn't argue. His usual bravado faltered as he considered the implications. The images of devastated planets recovered from the artifact's files lingered in his mind. If humanity couldn't handle such power responsibly, then pursuing it recklessly would only lead to ruin. Back on the Aurora *, the crew prepared to leave the wreckage behind. The lab where Lysa had made her final stand was sealed off permanently, a grim reminder of the cost of their curiosity. As they boarded escape pods and transferred to the Valen rescue vessel, each member of the crew carried a piece of Lysa with them, her determination, her brilliance, and her sacrifice. Xylor addressed the group one last time before departing. "You have shown that humanity is capable of both great harm and great good. Remember this lesson. Use your strength wisely, or it will consume you." Captain Carter nodded solemnly. "We'll try. That's all we can do." As the Valen ship disappeared into the stars, the survivors reflected on the journey that had brought them here. They had uncovered wonders beyond imagination, and dangers that tested the limits of their resolve. Lysa's sacrifice had bought them a second chance, but the question remained, would humanity rise to meet the challenge, or repeat the mistakes of the past? The military team from the cruiser boarded the Aurora with precision and authority. Led by Commander Laura Hayes, a no-nonsense officer with sharp features and an even sharper tone, they wasted no time asserting control. Her boots clicked against the metal floor as she marched onto the bridge, flanked by armed soldiers. "Captain Carter," Hayes began, her voice cold and direct, "we're here to secure the artifact. Stand down and let us handle this." Carter stepped forward, his expression calm but resolute. "Commander, you don't understand the situation. The artifact is unstable. Moving it, or tampering with it, could activate it. We've made progress with the Valens to shut it down safely." Hayes raised an eyebrow. glancing briefly at Siler, who stood nearby. Aliens? You're trusting aliens over your own people. They've been helping us, Lisa Harper interjected, stepping forward. They know more about this thing than we do. If we rush this, we risk disaster. Hayes' patience was wearing thin. This isn't up for debate. General Knox gave clear orders. The artifact is coming with us. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed as the artifact emitted a sudden burst of energy, its glow intensifying until it filled the lab. The crew scrambled to contain the reaction, but the vibrations grew stronger, shaking the entire vessel. It's destabilizing, Dr. Ryan Mitchell shouted, struggling to stabilize the readings on his console. We need to finish the shutdown sequence now. Lisa turned to Zyler, panic in her eyes. What do we do? Zyler moved quickly, its movements fluid and deliberate. There is one final step, but it is dangerous. If done incorrectly, the artifact will activate fully. Hayes stepped closer, her hand resting on the weapon at her side. Step aside. This is our operation now. No. Lisa snapped, surprising even herself with her outburst. You don't know what you're doing. If you interfere, you'll kill us all. For a moment, the room fell silent, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Hayes hesitated, her gaze shifting between the glowing artifact and the determined faces of the crew. Finally, she nodded curtly. Fine, but if this goes south, it's on you. With the military team watching closely, Lisa and Zyler worked together to input the final commands. Their hands moved quickly over the controls, synchronizing their efforts despite the language barrier. The artifact responded unpredictably, its surface patterns shifting rapidly, almost as if it were fighting back. Ryan monitored the energy readings, his voice tense. It's stabilizing, but barely. Keep going. As the seconds ticked by, the artifact's glow began to dim, and the vibrations slowed. The crew held their breath, praying they had succeeded. But just as hope seemed within reach, a small swarm of nanobots emerged from the device, crawling across the table like tiny metallic insects. What are those? Hayes demanded, taking a step back. The self-replicating nanobots, Lisa replied, her voice trembling. They're starting to spread. Without hesitation, Zyler activated a containment field around the lab, sealing them inside. The nanobots halted their advance, trapped within the barrier. But the danger wasn't over. If the containment failed, the bots would consume everything in their path. We can't stop them completely, Zyler said gravely, but we can delay them. Lisa's mind raced. She knew what had to be done. Turning to Carter, she spoke with quiet determination. I have to stay behind. I can manually trigger the artifact's self-destruct mechanism while you evacuate. Carter shook his head firmly. No, there has to be another way. There isn't, Lisa insisted, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. If I don't do this, the nanobots will escape. Everyone on this ship, and maybe beyond, will be at risk. Before anyone could argue further, Lisa grabbed a portable console and began entering commands. Tears welled up in Emma Blake's eyes as she realized what Lisa was planning. Please, there has to be another option. There isn't, Lisa repeated softly. Trust me. I'll hold them off. Zyler placed a hand on Lisa's shoulder, its expression unreadable but filled with respect. Your sacrifice will save countless lives. You have my gratitude, and the gratitude of my people. The others reluctantly filed out of the lab, their hearts heavy with grief. As the door sealed shut behind them, Lisa took a deep breath and focused on the task at hand. The artifact hummed louder, its glow returning as the nanobots multiplied. With trembling hands, she triggered the countdown. On the other side of the containment field, the crew watched helplessly as the lab was consumed by light. Lisa's voice came through the comm system one last time, calm and resolute. Goodbye, everyone. Take care of each other. Then silence. The artifact and Lisa were gone. The tension aboard the Aurora was palpable as General Knox's reinforcements approached. Captain Alan Carter stood on the bridge, staring at the viewscreen as the military vessel came into view. It was a sleek, heavily armed cruiser, its presence dwarfing the smaller exploration ship. Carter clenched his fists, frustration bubbling beneath his calm exterior. "Sir," Emma Blake said softly from her station. "They're hailing us." Carter nodded. "Put them through." On the screen, General Knox appeared, his stern face filling the display. Behind him, rows of officers worked silently in the command center back on Earth. Knox wasted no time with pleasantries. "Captain Carter, we've sent a team to assist you. They'll take custody of the artifact and bring it back for further study." Carter's jaw tightened. "With respect, sir, that's not advisable. The Valens are helping us understand the artifact. Moving it now could activate it, and if that happens, there's no telling what the consequences will be." Knox's expression didn't change. "I'm aware of the risks, Captain. But this isn't just about your mission anymore. This is about humanity's future. We can't pass up an opportunity like this." Before Carter could respond, Xylor stepped into view beside him. The alien ambassador's presence seemed to startle Knox, but he quickly masked his surprise. "General Knox," Xylor began, its voice calm but firm, "the artifact is too dangerous to move. Any attempt to transport it increases the risk of activation." Knox frowned, clearly unaccustomed to being challenged by an alien. "And who exactly are you to dictate our actions?" "I am Xylor of the Valen people," the ambassador replied. "We have encountered this relic before. Its creators destroyed themselves with it. Do you wish to repeat their mistake?" For a moment, Knox hesitated, but his ambition outweighed his caution. "We'll take our chances. Stand down, Captain Carter." "That's an order." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the crew in stunned silence. Lissa Harper turned to Carter, her eyes wide. "What do we do now?" Carter took a deep breath, his mind racing. "We keep working. If we can shut it down before they get here, we might have a chance." Meanwhile, General Knox wasn't content to wait. To prove humanity's superiority, and perhaps intimidate the Valens, he ordered a live demonstration of Earth's weaponry. A simulated target resembling a Valen ship appeared on the cruiser's screens. With a flick of a switch, energy beams and missiles tore through the simulation, reducing it to digital rubble within seconds. Back on the Aurora Asterisk, the crew watched the demonstration via a relayed feed. Dr. Ryan Mitchell shook his head in disbelief. "That's insane. They're practically begging for trouble." Lisa felt a knot form in her stomach. "If the Valens see this, they'll think we're a threat." Sure enough, Xylor reacted with visible unease. "Your weapons, they are far more advanced than ours. Why would you need the artifact when you already possess such power?" Carter sighed. "It's not about need. It's about greed. Some people believe having more power makes them safer, but all it does is create fear." As the hours passed, the military cruiser drew closer. The crew of the Aurora Asterisk worked frantically, trying to complete the shutdown sequence before the reinforcements arrived. Progress was slow, and every misstep made the artifact react unpredictably. Its glow grew brighter, and faint vibrations rattled the lab equipment. "This isn't going to work," Ryan muttered, wiping sweat from his forehead. "We're running out of time." Lisa refused to give up. "We have to try. If we don't, Knox will take it. And then what? Another disaster waiting to happen." Emma looked up from her station, her face pale. "They're almost here." Xylor placed a hand on Lisa's shoulder, its touch surprisingly warm despite its alien appearance. "You must trust yourselves. You have the knowledge. Use it wisely." Just as the military cruiser docked with the Aurora Asterisk, the artifact let out a low hum that reverberated through the ship. Everyone froze, their eyes darting toward it. For a moment, it seemed as though the device might activate. But then, the noise faded, leaving behind an eerie silence. Captain Carter exchanged a glance with Lisa. They both knew the clock was ticking. The artifact was unstable, and the arrival of the reinforcements only added pressure. Humanity's future, and perhaps the fate of countless worlds, rested in their hands. Back on Earth, the news of the alien encounter spread like wildfire. General Harold Knox, a stern man in his late 50s with sharp features and an even sharper temper, sat in a dimly lit conference room at United Defense Headquarters. The walls were lined with screens displaying live feeds from the Aurora and data streams about the artifact. Knox's eyes narrowed as he listened to Captain Carter's report. "So let me get this straight," Knox said, his voice low but laced with frustration. "You've got an alien weapon, possibly the most dangerous thing we've ever seen, and you're just sitting there chatting with these Valens." Captain Carter's face appeared on one of the monitors, his expression calm but firm. "Sir, the Valens are peaceful. They're helping us understand the artifact. If we act recklessly, we risk activating it." Knox slammed his fist on the table, making the officers around him flinch. "Peaceful? That's not our concern. What matters is that we have access to alien tech, a chance to advance our own weapon systems beyond anything we've dreamed of. And you're telling me we should just hand it over?" Carter didn't back down. "With respect, sir, this isn't about advancing weapons. It's about preventing disaster. The artifact could destroy entire planets if mishandled." Knox leaned back in his chair, his jaw tight. He wasn't used to being questioned, especially by someone light years away. But he knew better than to dismiss Carter entirely. The man had proven himself capable in the past. Still, Knox had other priorities. Humanity's survival depended on staying ahead of potential threats, and technology like this could tip the scales in their favor. Meanwhile, aboard the Aurora *, Lisa Harper worked closely with Xyler to decipher the artifact's shutdown sequence. The process was painstaking. Every touch, every adjustment they made caused the artifact to react unpredictably. Its glow would flicker, its surface patterns shifted, and sometimes it emitted low hums that resonated through the lab. "It's resisting," Lisa muttered, wiping sweat from her brow. "Almost like it doesn't want to be turned off." Xyler nodded solemnly. "It is designed to adapt, to survive. That is why it is so dangerous." Dr. Ryan Mitchell stood nearby, arms crossed, watching their progress, or lack thereof, with growing unease. "This feels too risky," he said. "Every time we try something new, it reacts. What happens when it decides to fight back?" Lisa shot him a glance. "We don't have a choice, Ryan. If we stop now, we might never figure it out." As the hours dragged on, Lisa discovered something buried deep within the artifact's structure: encrypted files. At first, they seemed like random strings of code, but as she decoded them, fragments of information began to emerge. Images of devastated planets, barren wastelands, and crumbling cities filled her screen. Accompanying the images were warnings written in an ancient script Xyler helped translate. "Their records," Lisa whispered, her voice trembling, "from the civilization that created this thing. These are the worlds it destroyed." Emma Blake looked over her shoulder, her face pale. "They're showing us what happens if we fail." Xyler's expression darkened. "This is why we must succeed. Not just for your world, but for all worlds." The gravity of the situation weighed heavily on everyone. On Earth, General Knox received updates about the artifact's destructive potential. While part of him acknowledged the danger, another part saw only opportunity. He called an emergency meeting with his advisors, pushing for immediate action. "We can't rely on those scientists to handle this," Knox argued. "If the artifact holds secrets, we need to extract them ourselves. Send reinforcements to the Aurora *. Bring the artifact home." His advisors hesitated, uneasy about interfering with the delicate situation. But Knox's determination was unshakable. Orders were issued, and a military vessel was dispatched to rendezvous with the Aurora *. Unaware of Knox's plans, the crew continued their work, unaware that humanity's greed and ambition were about to collide with the fragile trust they had built with the Valens. The artifact remained silent for now, but the tension surrounding it grew thicker with each passing moment. After hours of careful work, Emma Blake finally managed to establish a basic line of communication with the alien ship. The tones they had heard earlier began to form patterns, and through trial and error, she matched them to simple concepts like numbers and shapes. It was slow progress, but it was enough to send a message. "We come in peace." The response came quickly, a series of tones that Emma translated as acknowledgement. Then, to everyone's surprise, a smaller craft detached from the massive alien vessel and approached the Aurora asterisk. It docked gently, and moments later, an alien figure stepped onto the ship. The creature was tall and slender, with smooth, silvery skin that shimmered faintly under the lights. Its eyes were large and dark, giving it an almost serene appearance. Captain Alan Carter stepped forward cautiously, his hands raised to show he meant no harm. "I'm Captain Alan Carter," he said slowly, hoping the gesture would convey goodwill. "We mean you no harm." The alien tilted its head slightly, studying him. Then, using a device strapped to its wrist, it spoke in halting but understandable English. "I am Xylor, ambassador of the Valen people." The crew exchanged astonished glances. They hadn't expected direct communication so soon, or at all. Lisa Harper stepped forward, her curiosity outweighing her caution. "Why are you here?" she asked carefully. Xylor turned its gaze to her, its expression unreadable. "You possess something that does not belong to you, something dangerous." Captain Carter frowned. "The artifact." Xylor nodded. "It is a relic of an ancient civilization, a tool of destruction. We have searched for it for many cycles." Lisa glanced at the artifact, still sitting quietly on the lab table. "If it's so dangerous, why didn't you secure it? Why leave it floating in space?" "It was lost long ago," Xylor replied, "hidden by those who feared its power. We hoped it would remain undisturbed." Dr. Ryan Mitchell crossed his arms, his skepticism clear. "If it's so advanced, why does it look so primitive? Compared to our technology, it seems almost laughable." Xylor's eyes narrowed slightly. "Your technology is impressive, yes, but power is not always measured by complexity. What you hold is far more dangerous than your weapons. It has the potential to destroy entire worlds." The room fell silent as the weight of Xylor's words sank in. Emma broke the tension. "What does it do? What makes it so dangerous?" Xylor hesitated before answering. "It contains self-replicating nanobots. Once activated, they consume everything in their path, organic and inorganic alike. The ancient ones used it as a weapon of last resort, but even they could not control it fully." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. She had suspected the artifact was more than it seemed, but this revelation was beyond anything she had imagined. "Then why did you let us bring it aboard?" she asked. "Why didn't you stop us sooner?" "We did not know until we detected its signal," Xylor explained. "By then, it was too late. Now, we must ensure it is contained." Captain Carter stepped forward, his voice firm. "We didn't know what it was when we found it, but now that we do, we'll help you. Tell us what needs to be done." Xylor regarded him for a moment, then nodded. "There is a shutdown sequence, but it is complex and risky. If attempted incorrectly, the artifact will activate. Once that happens, there may be no stopping it." Dr. Mitchell frowned. "So we're supposed to trust you. How do we know this isn't some kind of trick?" Xylor's calm demeanor didn't waver. "You have seen our vessel, our technology. Would we need tricks to take what we want? We seek only to prevent catastrophe." Captain Carter held up a hand to silence Mitchell. He turned back to Xylor. "All right, show us how to shut it down. We'll work together." As Xylor moved toward the artifact, the crew followed closely, their minds racing. The peaceful intentions of the Valens seemed genuine, but the stakes were higher than ever. One wrong move, and the artifact could unleash devastation on a scale humanity couldn't comprehend. For now, cooperation was their best chance. But trust was fragile, and time was running out. The next morning, the crew of the Aurora gathered in the lab, their faces showing a mix of determination and exhaustion. The artifact remained on the table, its faint glow pulsing steadily, as if mocking their efforts to unravel its secrets. Despite their long hours of work, they had made little progress. The signal Emma Blake was decoding still didn't make sense, and the metallic spheres inside the artifact continued to elude explanation. Captain Alan Carter stood at the head of the room, his arms crossed. "We need answers," he said firmly. "Whatever this thing is, it's not going to unlock itself." "Ryan, any updates on the material?" Dr. Ryan Mitchell shook his head. "Not much. It's unlike anything we've seen before. The outer layer seems almost organic, but the inner structure is completely alien. Those spheres, they're giving off energy, but I can't tell what kind or why." Lisa Harper chimed in, her voice calm but urgent. "I think we're missing something. Maybe we're looking at this the wrong way. What if the artifact isn't just a device? What if it's alive?" The room fell silent. The idea was unsettling, but it wasn't impossible. Humanity had encountered strange things in space before, though nothing quite like this. If the artifact was alive, or even partially so, it could explain the unpredictable behavior they'd observed. Emma glanced up from her station, where she was still working on the signal. If it's alive, does that mean it's trying to communicate with us? Or is it just reacting to our presence? Both, Lisa suggested. It might be trying to send a message, but it could also be responding to how we're handling it. We've been scanning it, poking at it, running tests. Maybe it sees that as a threat. Captain Carter nodded slowly. Then we need to approach this differently. Stop treating it like an object, and start thinking of it as, well, as something more. Before anyone could respond, the ship shuddered slightly. Alarms blared, and red warning lights flashed across the walls. Everyone froze, their eyes darting toward the door. "What was that?" Emma asked, her voice trembling. Dr. Mitchell hurried to a nearby console and pulled up the ship's systems. "It's coming from outside," he said, his tone grim. "Something's out there." The crew rushed to the bridge, their hearts pounding. On the main view screen, they saw it, a massive alien vessel emerging from the darkness of space. It was enormous, easily dwarfing the Aurora asterisk, with sleek curves and glowing panels that pulsed in rhythmic patterns. The design was unmistakably alien, yet strangely beautiful. "They found us," Captain Carter said, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. Lisa's mind raced. "Do you think it's because of the artifact? Maybe they were tracking it. Or maybe they were listening to the signal," Emma added. "What if we accidentally triggered something when we brought it aboard?" Dr. Mitchell frowned. "Either way, we've got company, and they don't look friendly." The alien ship didn't move closer, but it didn't leave either. Instead, it hovered silently, as if studying the humans. Then, without warning, a beam of light shot out from the vessel and connected with the Aurora asterisk. The crew braced themselves, expecting an attack, but nothing happened. The light seemed to scan the ship, probing its hull and systems. "They're analyzing us," Lisa whispered, her eyes wide. Captain Carter took a deep breath. "Open a channel. Let's try to talk to them." Emma worked quickly, adjusting the communication systems to broadcast a neutral signal. After a few tense moments, a response came through, a series of low, resonant tones that vibrated through the ship. The sound was eerie, but not hostile. "They're responding," Emma said, relief creeping into her voice. "But I don't understand what they're saying." Lisa leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "It's not like the signal from the artifact. This is different, more complex." Captain Carter straightened, his expression firm. "Keep trying to decode it. In the meantime, let's assume they're here because of the artifact. If we want to avoid trouble, We need to figure out what they want. And fast. As the crew worked to establish communication, the artifact sat quietly in the lab, its glow dimmer than before. Whether it was a tool, a weapon, or something else entirely, one thing was clear. Humanity had stepped into a situation far bigger than they had anticipated. And now, they would have to face the consequences. After securing the artifact in the ship's lab, the crew gathered around it, their faces a mix of excitement and unease. The object sat on a metal table, glowing faintly under the harsh laboratory lights. Its surface seemed to shift slightly, as if alive, though no one could explain how or why. Lieutenant Lisa Harper adjusted her glasses and leaned closer, her scanner humming softly as she collected data. "It's fascinating," she murmured, her voice filled with awe. "The energy readings are off the charts, but the material itself, it's so fragile. It doesn't make sense." Dr. Ryan Mitchell stood nearby, arms crossed, his expression skeptical. "Fragile? That's not what I'd expect from something alien. Our tech is built to last. This thing looks like it could break if you sneezed on it." Captain Alan Carter paced slowly, his boots clicking against the floor. "Maybe that's the point," he suggested. "Maybe it's not supposed to be durable. Maybe it's meant for something else entirely." Emma Blake, the communications officer, was focused on her own task. She had set up a portable receiver next to the artifact, trying to decode the strange signal they had detected earlier. The rhythmic hum grew louder, almost melodic, as she fine-tuned the equipment. Her fingers danced over the controls, adjusting frequencies and filters until the noise began to take shape. "I think I've got something," Emma said, her voice rising with excitement. "It's not random. It's a pattern. Like a message." Lisa turned to look at her. "A message? From who?" Emma hesitated, unsure how to answer. "I don't know. But whoever sent it, they're definitely not human." The room fell silent as the weight of her words sank in. For years, humanity had searched for signs of extraterrestrial life, hoping to find proof that they weren't alone. Now, standing before them, was evidence that such life existed, and it was reaching out. The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. Dr. Mitchell frowned, his skepticism deepening. If this is some kind of alien communication, why would they use something so basic? This tech looks primitive compared to ours. Even our oldest satellites are more advanced than this. Lisa shook her head. Not everything is about power or complexity. Sometimes simplicity serves a purpose we can't understand yet. Captain Carter stepped forward, his gaze fixed on the artifact. "We need to figure out what it's saying, and fast. If this is a distress call, there might be someone out there who needs our help. And if it's something else..." He paused, letting the implication hang in the air. "We need to know what we're dealing with." As the hours passed, the crew worked tirelessly. Lisa ran simulation after simulation, trying to map the artifact's internal structure. Emma continued decoding the signal, jotting down notes as fragments of the message started to emerge. Dr. Mitchell, despite his doubts, examined the material composition, searching for weaknesses or hidden dangers. But the artifact wasn't cooperating. Every time they thought they were making progress, something unexpected happened. The glow would flicker, the patterns on its surface would shift, or the signal would change pitch entirely. It was as if the object had a mind of its own, resisting their efforts to understand it. Late into the night, Lisa noticed something odd. The scans showed a series of chambers inside the artifact, each containing what appeared to be tiny metallic spheres. They weren't solid. They pulsed faintly, almost like living cells. She pointed it out to Dr. Mitchell, who leaned in for a closer look. "What do you think they are?" Lisa asked. Mitchell shrugged. "Could be anything. Power sources, memory banks, maybe even weapons. Without knowing more, we're just guessing." Before Lisa could respond, the artifact emitted a sudden burst of light. Everyone froze, shielding their eyes as the glow intensified. When it finally dimmed, the object seemed unchanged. But the atmosphere in the room had shifted. Something felt different, though none of them could quite put their finger on it. Captain Carter broke the silence. "Whatever this thing is, it's more complex than we realized. Keep working. We'll figure it out sooner or later." But as the crew returned to their tasks, a nagging thought lingered in the back of their minds. What if understanding the artifact came at a cost they weren't prepared to pay? In the vast emptiness of space, far from Earth and its familiar blue skies, the exploration vessel Aurora drifted silently among the stars. The ship was sleek and modern, a testament to humanity's incredible advancements in technology. On board, Captain Alan Carter stood on the bridge, his sharp eyes scanning the view screen as the crew worked around him. They had been traveling for months, searching for signs of intelligent life, or anything that could expand humanity's understanding of the universe. Lieutenant Lisa Harper, the ship's science officer, sat at her station, her fingers flying over the glowing control panel. She was young but brilliant, with a knack for solving problems no one else could. Her attention snapped to the main screen as something unusual appeared, a small floating object drifting through the void. It shimmered faintly under the distant light of a dying star, its surface smooth and metallic. "What is that?" asked Emma Blake, the communications officer, leaning forward in her seat. Her voice carried a mix of curiosity and unease. "I don't know," Lisa replied, adjusting the sensors to get a better look. "It's not natural. It's artificial." Captain Carter stepped closer, his boots clicking softly against the metal floor. "Can we bring it aboard?" Dr. Ryan Mitchell, the chief engineer, frowned. He was a tall man with graying hair and a cautious demeanor. "We should be careful," he said. "We don't know what it is, or what it might do." But caution wasn't enough to stop the crew's curiosity. After all, they were explorers, driven by a hunger to learn and discover. With careful maneuvering, the Aurora extended a magnetic retrieval arm and gently pulled the object into the ship's cargo bay. Once secured, the team suited up and entered the chamber where the artifact now lay. Up close, the object looked even stranger. It was about the size of a large suitcase, with intricate patterns etched into its surface. The design seemed almost organic, like veins running through stone, but they glowed faintly with an inner light. Despite its otherworldly appearance, there was something oddly simple about it, almost primitive. "It looks like plastic," Dr. Mitchell muttered, tapping it lightly with his gloved hand. The material felt surprisingly soft, almost flimsy, unlike the durable metals and alloys humans used in their own technology. "This can't be right. Something this advanced shouldn't feel so cheap." Lisa ignored his skepticism and began running scans. Her instruments buzzed and whirred as data poured in. "There's energy inside it," she said, her brow furrowing. "Some kind of power source, but I'd never seen anything like it before." Emma, meanwhile, focused on the communication systems. She adjusted her equipment, trying to pick up any signals the artifact might be emitting. At first, there was nothing but static. Then suddenly, a low hum filled the room. It wasn't random noise. It was rhythmic, almost like a language. "Do you hear that?" Emma asked, her voice tinged with excitement. "It's a signal." Captain Carter crossed his arms, his expression thoughtful. "Could it be a distress call?" "Maybe," Lisa replied, though uncertainty lingered in her tone. "Or it could be something else entirely. We need to analyze it further." As the crew continued their work, none of them realized the significance of their discovery or the danger it might bring. For now, they were simply thrilled to have found something truly alien, proof that they weren't alone in the universe. But deep down, a small part of each of them wondered, what if this object wasn't meant to be found?